This A-Team adventure is called Follow That Chicken. You can read along with me in your book. You will know it is time to turn the page when you hear this.
In 1972, a crack commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped from a maximum security stockade to the Los Angeles underground. Today, still wanted by the government, they survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
A small backwoods country town has been terrorized by a series of unpleasant crimes which the local police are unable to solve. Then, unexpectedly, they come across evidence which leads directly and conclusively to a local newcomer, Brad Harper. Until now, Brad has been looked on as a fine young man who has come into the district to try to reopen an old mine that has been left to him by a distant relative. Now that he appears to be a vicious criminal, public opinion of him changes. What else can you expect from a stranger, a man from the city? It's only to be expected that he will cause trouble. And his wife Julie is ignored by those who, up till now, have been her friends. She seems a nice girl, but who knows what she's likely to do? Brad protests his innocence, but in vain. He is locked in the local jail, but his crimes are so serious that soon he is to be moved to a more secure prison. Julie is confused and doesn't know which way to turn. She knows that her husband is incapable of committing the crimes for which he stands convicted. She has no relatives, and no one in the town will help her. She is at home, way out of town, near the mine, trying to decide what's best to do for her husband, when she is surprised by the arrival of a party of soldiers. They tell her that they have come to seize the mine on behalf of the government, and that she must not leave the house for any reason. Something about the soldiers is not quite right, so she decides she must leave town. No one will listen to her fears. The soldier's story is accepted. How can she get out without being seen? There is only one way that she can think of. The soldiers search the town for her, but she is nowhere to be found. Roadblocks are set up, and all vehicles are stopped. She is not on any of them. The drivers insist that she is the last woman they will help. As the officer who seems to be in charge leaves the general store, he remembers a remark made to him by the storekeeper.
Good thing we're rid of that husband of hers. Prison guards bust him out an hour since.
The officer realizes what Julie has done.
Somehow she must have smuggled herself aboard the prison bus. She knew we'd not bother to stop that.
So, now what do? She's bound to tell what's going on here.
No problem.
They phone the prison with an anonymous tip-off telling them to search the bus. Julie is discovered and tries to explain what has happened to her, but the prison officer is convinced that she is trying to help her husband to escape. If she persists with her story, she will be arrested too. She sees her husband led into the prison. What can she do now? When all else fails, there's only one thing to do. She manages to contact the A-Team. She tells Hannibal her story.
Well, we've got no reason to love the Army, but they certainly don't sound like the GIs we used to know.
Do you think they're phony?
There's one sure way to find out.
The A-Team get into their van. Hannibal opens the back door for Julie.
You get in behind, Mrs. Harper. We need you to show us around that mine of yours, but you'd better keep out of sight.
BA drives. The engine roars into life, and the A-Team van sets off on its journey into a new adventure. On the way, Julie tells the team about the town they are making for.
They raise a lot of chickens down there. In fact, most people make their living out of chickens. And someone has been going around at night killing chickens, just for fun. You can understand the people hating anyone who would do a thing like that.
Where was your husband when all this was going on?
At the mine.
Alone?
Yes, he always worked alone.
Too bad he didn't have a partner. Give him an alibi.
A man did come around one time trying to go into partnership with him. Offered quite a sum of money, but Brad said no. He preferred to work alone.
What happened to the man?
He went away.
At last they arrive. With Face now driving and Julie beside him to give directions, they make a detour to avoid the town and stop behind some trees at a place where they can observe the entrance to the Harper mine. They are some distance away, but they can see the small homestead with uniformed men and army vehicles outside. Julie is surprised.
That watchtower isn't ours. They must have built it.
Hannibal takes out a cigar.
They're not leaving anything to chance. Must be important. I'd like to know what's going on in there.
Murdoch shudders.
We'd never get anywhere near them without being seen, and those uniforms give me bad vibes.
Hannibal reassures him.
There's no need for any of us to go any closer than we are right now. Seems the right time to try out the latest piece of hardware. Pass me that box, Face.
Huh?
Hannibal opens the box and carefully takes out a bullet using a pair of forceps. He holds it up for them to see.
This little beauty contains a high-impact resistant bugging device. We put it into a cartridge, fire it from a silenced rifle, and listen to every word those guys are saying.
Hannibal loads the rifle with a special bullet and takes careful aim.
Should hate to hit anybody.
The bullet flies through an open window and lodges in the doorframe of the main room. It works. They hear the men discussing their plans. Leaving Face to record on tape all that is said, Julie leads the others to a disused entrance to the mine. Hannibal wants to find out what's going on inside it. When the music stops, turn your cassette over. They are waylaid at the entrance by uniformed men who cover them with automatic weapons.
So, Mrs. Harper, you managed to find someone to help you. It's hard luck on them. Get into that mine, all of you. That gallery is blocked. It leads nowhere. You now have a choice of how you wish to die. Starve in the mine or be shot trying to get out.
Reluctantly, they go into the mine. Murdoch makes a face.
This is the sort of behavior that gives the Army a bad name.
That's not our army, man.
One of the men seems to take pity on Julie and gives her a lantern.
I know how you dames like to be able to see to fix your faces.
Inside the mine, Julie turns to Hannibal.
That was the man who wanted to be a partner in the mine.
That doesn't surprise Hannibal, who takes the lantern.
Stay near the entrance, Julie. Give us a call if anything develops. We'll look for another way out.
They search carefully, but all ways seem blocked. Then Murdoch starts to make chicken noises. B.A. is not amused.
But I've just found a chicken, and that chicken must have got in from someplace. If we chase it, maybe it'll show us the way out.
What do we got to lose?
They shoo the chicken and follow it through a maze of tunnels. At last they see light ahead and hear voices coming from outside the mine. Murdoch sounds depressed.
Seems they're guarding this entrance, too. What do we do? Throw rocks at them?
B.A. has a better idea, and he lifts Murdoch up onto his shoulder.
Play possum, man. Lead on, chicken.
Hannibal moves forward the short distance towards the light, and B.A. comes behind, carrying Murdoch as easily as a child. Murdoch throws his head back and closes his eyes. He puts on a falsetto voice.
I declare, B.A., I didn't know you cared.
You'll see how much I care when I drop you.
Hannibal has almost reached the exit. He signals B.A. to be quiet. Cautiously, he peers out into the daylight. It takes a moment or two for his eyes to get accustomed to the glare after the gloom of the mine gallery. He sees 3 men in civilian clothes. For a moment, he thinks that perhaps they are farmer workers, for they seem to be looking for eggs left by the chickens who are pecking in the ground around their feet. Then he notices that they are armed with weapons similar to the uniformed men who pushed them into the mine. He creeps back to B.A. and Murdoch to report.
The guys out there are not in uniform, but they're obviously part of the same bunch. I guess the uniforms are just a front to make their activities seem legal to the locals. We're some distance from the main entrance to the mine and out of sight of the troops at the house. So let's go ahead as planned.
Murdoch groans, and Hannibal comes out of the mine with his hands raised, calling out as he does so,
Don't shoot, you guys. We're unarmed, and my partner's carrying a sick man.
The 3 men come forward with interest as Hannibal walks towards them. B.A. is close behind, carrying a sagging Murdoch. One of the men calls on them to stop.
That's close enough.
Hannibal agrees.
Quite close enough.
B.A. lifts Murdoch above his head and slings him at the 3 men, who go down like pins in a bowling alley. Then he and Hannibal dive into the fray, and a great fight develops amongst the chickens and the straw. The men never get a chance to go for their guns, and the outcome is never in doubt. Hannibal hauls up his victim while Murdoch shoos away an over-inquisitive chicken.
Okay, farm boy. What's the caper?
The man is silent and scowls. Hannibal persists.
My big friend over there is very quiet himself, but he likes to make other people talk a lot. Do I make myself clear?
The man notices the way B.A. is dealing with his friend.
You made your point. So, what do you want to know?
The works. What's the big deal with the mine?
Gold. There's a rich new seam there that just needs opening out.
You mean you're just claim jumpers? Seems a very complicated operation just to try and run someone off their mine. You'd better try again, buddy.
I don't have to tell you nothing.
You're right. You don't need to tell me, and I'll tell you why. Because we fixed a little bug in your headquarters over there, and all your plans and secret goings-on have been carefully recorded.
Is that a fact? Now I'll tell you something, buddy. We found that bug of yours, and what's more, we found the guy who was listening in. We got him and his van.
The 3 members of the A-team look at each other.
They got face.
If that's the name of the guy in the van, we got him.
Swiftly, they tie up the men and dump them out of sight in the mine. Then they make their way up a small wooded rise. They peer over the edge and look down onto the main mine entrance with its new watchtower and the army vehicles. Sure enough, there is another vehicle there now, the A-team van. They see Face being thrust into the back, and 2 uniformed men get in the front. Hannibal looks serious and turns to B.A.
They're right. They got Face and the van. What do you say, B.A.?
Nobody takes my wheels, man.
Hannibal turns to Murdoch.
Get back down the mine and collect Julie. Bring her down to the end of that track over there. We'll be waiting for you. Hurry!
Murdoch dashes off, and B.A. takes out a small electronic gizmo from his pocket. When the soldier starts the van's engine, B.A. presses a few buttons. He is holding a remote control unit for the A-team van. To the soldier's surprise, the van leaps forward and swerves violently from side to side. The door flies open and the passenger is flung out. B.A. controls the van until it is brought to a halt alongside him. They capture the man who's trying to drive, and the A-team and Julie quickly get inside. B.A. drives it off. They find Face, safe and sound, in the back.
I've got some fine recordings. Those guys are politicals. They want to start a small war, and they were going to use the gold to buy weapons. These tapes will expose them and free Julie's husband.
When they are well clear, they stop, and with great pleasure, B.A. ties up the man who dared to try and drive away his van. They leave him with a copy of the incriminating tapes, in a place where he will soon be picked up by the authorities. They leave Julie at a hotel to await the release of her husband, and are soon speeding on their way back to L.A., the van theirs alone once more.